Local election headquarters. Here's Fred Childers with This Week in Louisiana Politics.
Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Fred Childers. Thanks for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Politics on your local election headquarters. Well, a judge in the Middle District Court has rejected the state legislature's state Senate and House maps, saying they violate the Voting Rights Act. Judge Shelley Dick says in her order that the majority-minority districts in each map are packed so that black voters have less of an opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. Now, this means the legislature will have to redraw the maps, as they did with the congressional map. And this is not the congressional map that we've been talking about. Plaintiffs argue 3 more seats in the Senate and 6 in the House could be made majority black. Now, there is no timeline yet of when new maps will be redrawn. Governor Jeff Landry put out the official call for the special crime session to begin on February 19th. The call is carefully crafted to address 24 separate issues, the majority being related to crime. Some of the items include restricting parole eligibility, increasing the penalty for carjacking, and allowing concealed weapons to be carried without a permit. Critics argue none of what's suggested will fix the issues and only hurt black and brown communities. That session is slated to last until March 6th, just days before the regular session begins. And we'll cover all of it for you. Governor Landry and his administration presented the first executive budget of his term. The budget is the baseline of what legislators use to begin their budget debates and votes throughout the regular session. The proposal reduces spending by $3.3 billion compared to the current year's budget. Landry said with the federal funds for COVID response drying up, there is less money at hand, and they are staring down the roll-off of the temporary 0.45 cent sales tax in the next fiscal year. That is projected to create a more than $500 million shortfall. Other key points is that the teacher pay stipend will look different this year, and it's not anticipated to be made permanent as promised last year. Early childhood education funding appears to remain the same, and TOPS is fully funded.
So I think that this path, this budget sets us on a path towards fiscal responsibility and shared prosperity, and I really look forward to working with y'all.
The lawmakers will begin debates on the $44 billion budget in March. And that cut to the teacher stipend is already causing a stir in the legislature. House Democrats released a statement saying, quote, Louisiana's teachers were snubbed yet again with the proposed one-time stipend instead of a true pay increase. House Democrats fought hard to secure pay raises for teachers during the 2023 legislative session, and the proposed one-time stipend is a betrayal of our teachers and children and neglects the intent of the House of Representatives last year. Governor Landry announced this week he is sending members of the Louisiana National Guard to the Texas border to help address illegal immigration. Capitol reporter Shannon Hecht brings us the details of this mission.
Louisiana will be sending 150 National Guard soldiers to the Texas-Mexico border over the course of 3 months. And Governor Landry says that this is critical in addressing border security. Following his recent trip to the southern border with a number of other Republican governors, Landry said that he wanted to send help to Governor Greg Abbott in the border cities.
We are standing here today because the federal government refuses to act, because the president refuses to do his job.
Starting in March, 50 soldiers will be sent at a time and rotated out on a 30-day cycle. The soldiers will not be performing border agent tasks, and they will not be allowed to make any arrests.
If they encounter illegal border crossers, they will refer those to local law enforcement who have the responsibility to make those arrests or do whatever it is under Texas law.
The Guardsmen will be performing similar duties as they would be when they are deployed for natural disasters. It will cost the state an estimated $3 million for the deployment that the National Guard says that they will need added to their budget. The money for the project will have to be allocated by the legislature in the regular session. For your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
A pre-filed bill would make changes to the abortion ban in the state. The changes include the removal of an ectopic pregnancy and would not be labeled an abortion. Currently, they are not considered abortions, but this would label them a protected procedure. The bill also adds a provision for the treatment of cancer or blood disorders, and a molar pregnancy will not be considered an abortion. The bill also lays out protections for contraception. Since Roe v. Wade was overturned, abortion has been completely banned in Louisiana, except in cases where the fetus is found to be non-viable or the life of the mother is at risk. Lawmakers questioned insurance regulators about the possible sale of Blue Cross Blue Shield Louisiana to Elevance. The controversial move has drawn heavy support and criticism. Shannon Heck brings us details of this week's hearing.
The sale of the nonprofit insurer Blue Cross and Blue Shield Louisiana to for-profit Elevance from out of state is raising concerns with policyholders.
We just don't have the resources to make those types of investments that our competitors make in Louisiana.
The insurer's CEO says that it's not making revenue as much as its competitors are in the state. The profits of the sale would partially go into a trust and some of it back to the policyholders. But what it can be used for has not been clearly laid out. The agreement includes language to keep on the staff locally for at least 2 years.
There's no guarantees that Blue Cross admin stays in the state for the long run.
Lawmakers say they have taken calls from constituents saying switching to a for-profit company will increase their premiums. While the commissioner can set some requirements in the deal, he can't cap premiums or rates. BCBS claims that would not be the case.
You have to understand where we take some pause when we hear that premiums won't go up. They've risen everywhere else.
The company currently covers 1.9 million Louisianians. If approved by policyholders, Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple will have a month to determine if he will approve the deal. For your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
And following that meeting, senators on the panel released a report of what they learned in the nearly 8-hour hearing. Many of them walked away with more questions, such as regulatory issues and potential vote steering in favor of Blue Cross, quality of Elevance health services, and forming a new foundation with sale proceeds of around $3 billion from policyholders called the Accelerate Louisiana Initiative. Also weighing in on this is Treasurer John Fleming, who is a medical doctor. He says, quote, "I would like to join my fellow physicians throughout Louisiana and our physicians organizations in urging members of Blue Cross to vote no." Treasurer Fleming says many physicians in private practice will likely be forced to become employees of large companies, and much of the private practice of medicine we enjoy will be destroyed. And he says coverage of your medical bills will be decreased. Elevance responded, saying Fleming's claims are not true. Governor Landry announced a major economic boost to Chevron while at the Louisiana Mid-Continent Oil and Gas Association meeting. The governor announced that he'll be taking millions of dollars marked for affordable housing under former Governor John Bel Edwards and give it to Chevron. This would allow the company to expand its diesel plant in Geismar.
We had $83 million left over that we had to get out the door right away, and y'all are getting it.
Will get an additional $17 million in the state's next bond allocation. The Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness directs disaster responses after storms, cyber attacks, and other threats to the state. Now, the new director is making changes to get resources to people sooner in a crisis. Shannon Heck sat down with him to learn more about what he hopes to change.
In his first month in office, GOSEP Director Jacques Thibodeau is looking for ways to speed up FEMA money getting into the hands of cities trying to rebuild from a disaster. With adjustments to the express pay process, 90% of federal public assistance money can be dispersed.
GOSEP as an organization is about $3.1 billion. But 94% of that is federal pass-through dollars. So we're constantly looking in the legislative bodies, both state and federal, on how we can move that money quicker.
Thibodeau, who has experience working under 4 different governors in the National Guard, says the state is facing new threats through wildfires and freezes, and he's developing plans on how to better keep people safe.
We have a cycle that we use and we respond to it the same way. The thing about Louisiana we're challenges with, we don't understand ice and we don't understand snow. If you're not from the northern Louisiana area, that was one of the first things that we faced.
The department is taking lessons learned from disasters such as Hurricane
Hurricane Ida, where communications between the law enforcement network went down for a time after the storm made landfall.
One of our 5 divisions works nothing more than security and interoperability. So it's a constant focus for us to keep those communications going, because if you can't talk, you can't respond.
As hurricane season is on the horizon, Thibodeau, who is a resident of the city he shares a name with, is developing plans on how to get resources out faster to the hardest hit areas in any given disaster.
You can't win against Mother Nature. The best you can do is fight to a draw. So what I tell people is we're going to work as hard as we can every day to get those resources through the cycle as quickly as we can.
He also talked about developing the Office of School Safety and cybersecurity measures that have been passed by the legislature in recent years. In Baton Rouge, I'm Shannon Hecht.
Well, let's try this again. The controversial race for sheriff in Northwest Louisiana gets a redo. We'll check in with the 2 candidates who are running again next.